We have some breaking news. Donald Trump is reportedly considering sending the National Guard into New Orleans. This is not about fighting crime. This is something 1000% more sinister. We'll get into the fuckery, but first, hit the subscribe button and enable notifications. It really helps us bring you more stories like this. This is Kameron Williams, and welcome to Pragmotiv News. Before we begin, watch this clip from Channel 4, WWL.
President Donald Trump says he is considering sending National Guard troops to New Orleans in hopes of reducing crime. He made the comment just moments ago at a news conference with the president of Poland. He was speaking about the possibility of sending the National Guard to Chicago. Here's what he had to say.
We're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C.
New Orleans, like many other cities the Trump administration has targeted with its crime crackdown, is already seeing a drop in crime. New Orleans recorded a historic decline in the murder rate earlier this year. We'll have more on this developing story on our website, our free smartphone app, and of course our social media pages.
This is ridiculous. What is there to straighten out? If the crime is already dropping, then what are you doing? So here's some statements from some officials in Louisiana. First up is New Orleans City Council Vice President Helena Moreno. And she's also running for mayor in this upcoming election. She said, "We have unprecedented reduction in crime and violence in New Orleans. This is an attack on certain cities. There are many cities with mayors aligned with this president whose crime issues are severe, and they are not targeted. That clearly shows that this is about scare tactics and politicizing public safety, ultimately leading to the misuse of public funds and resources to attempt to score political points. We cannot allow this, and I will fight to prevent any federal takeover of New Orleans." Next is City Council President J.P. Morrell. He said, "It's ridiculous to consider sending the National Guard into another American city that hasn't asked for it. Guardsmen are not trained law enforcement. They can't solve crimes, they can't interview witnesses, and they aren't trained to constitutionally police. NOPD is doing a great job with the existing resources they have. Marching troops into New Orleans is an unnecessary show of force in effort to create a solution to a problem that does not exist." Next is Royce Duplessis. He is a Louisiana state senator and is currently running for mayor of New Orleans. He said, "President Trump's suggestion that he may deploy federal troops to New Orleans is reckless, politically motivated, an abuse of presidential power, and a betrayal of our Constitution. Our residents deserve safety and stability, not to be used as pawns in a partisan manner. Our city has been making progress on reducing crime through smart investments in prevention, enforcement, and community partnerships. History has shown that federal troop deployments does not solve crime. They only create tension, chaos, and distrust. What New Orleans truly needs is greater federal investment to support recruitment and retention at NOPD. We cannot allow Washington politicians or Baton Rouge to use our city as a backdrop for political stunts. Our focus must be on united local leadership that prioritize basic services like drainage, streets, and power reliability, while continuing to build on strategies that improve public safety, I stand with the people of New Orleans in demanding real solutions that make our city safer and stronger, not political maneuvers designed for headlines. Next is Liz Murrill, Louisiana State Attorney General. Whether it's the January 1st terror attack, the Orleans Parish jail escape, no one monitoring ankle monitors, or countless other failures, people continue to die in New Orleans because leaders refuse to accept the resources that are available to them. If your gut reaction is to reject the president's offer for assistance without condition, perhaps you're the problem, not him. Moving right on from that. Oh man. Now on the surface, the prospect of the National Guard in New Orleans might sound familiar. After Hurricane Katrina, National Guard troops were deployed to Louisiana, and some people remember that as a turning point in restoring order. But let's be clear, that was a different time, a different National Guard, and a very different government. This isn't about disaster relief, or about keeping people safe. This is about power. And if we don't look at the bigger picture, we're going to miss what's really happening. After Katrina, the National Guard came in when New Orleans was literally drowning. Thousands stranded, neighborhoods destroyed, basic services gone. Even then, there were mixed reviews. Some said it restored order. Others remember the intimidation, the heavy-handed tactics, and the sense that the city was being occupied rather than helped. But here's the key difference. Today's National Guard isn't walking into a hurricane zone. They'd be walking into neighborhoods where people are just trying to live their lives. And in 2025, the National Guard is being directed by a federal government that has become increasingly hostile to dissent and willing to flex military power against its own people. Trump is framing this as fighting crime, but let's be honest, this is not about crime. New Orleans' crime rate is steadily falling across the board. Murder down 22% compared to a year ago. Crimes against persons down 17% compared to this time last year. And property crimes down 21%. Data from the Metropolitan Crime Commission says homicide is the lowest it's been since 2019. So this isn't about crime. If it was, he would have done this in his first term. Crime rose because of his mismanagement of COVID. It's risen year over year in 2020, 2021, and 2022, with a slight decrease in 2023. It's been steadily decreasing since then. Yes, Joe Biden was president for some of those years, but everything is on a delay. Nothing in Washington happens at a fast pace. So it was actually President Biden and Vice President Harris that brought crime down. And that's because what begins in 4 years you don't feel it until the next 4 years. So what happened under Bush wasn't felt until under Obama. What happened under Obama wasn't felt until under Trump. And what happened under Trump wasn't felt until we was under Biden. And what happened under Biden is just now beginning to be felt. And the economy was getting better, but now because of his tariffs, all of that is going to come crashing down. Mark my words. So the crime was down, and now it's about to rise again because people are desperate. And when people are desperate, crime rises. And guess what? Trump's policies make people desperate. We all know what this is about. This is just a way for him to distract us from the economy, his declining health, and Epstein. The sinister thing is he is just trying to test his theory on how he can use the military to take over the country if he doesn't want to leave office. He has telegraphed this with statements like, "You'll never have to vote again." No one is disputing that New Orleans had crime problems in the past. But right now, this is not needed. We saw how the National Guard was used in Los Angeles. We saw how they were unleashed in Washington, D.C. Those weren't about keeping people safe. They were about control. They was going on this man's porch asking him for an ID when all he was doing was sitting on his property smoking a cigarette. That is not policing. That is just straight up harassment. Now, I know some people will say, well, good, I'll feel safer. But here's the truth. You'll feel safer right up until the moment they're accosting you for doing normal everyday things, like sitting on your porch, or driving, or being outside at all, really. Because when they see you, they're going to stop you. That's not safety. That's occupation. So what can the city of New Orleans do? Sadly, not much. The city has a home rule charter, which gives it significant autonomy in local affairs. But under Louisiana's constitution, the state always comes first. Local governments are, quote, creatures of the state. The state constitution also says the police power of the state shall never be abridged. That means the governor can call in the National Guard for law enforcement, and the city charter can't stop it. The governor of Louisiana is the commander-in-chief of the state's National Guard. He can put them on state active duty for civil unrest or domestic emergencies. And the courts, they've consistently sided with the state in these battles. In 2002, the Louisiana Supreme Court struck down New Orleans' attempt to set its own minimum wage, saying state law came first. So, translation, if the governor orders the National Guard into New Orleans, the city can't legally block it. I know. That's bad. The only potential challenge would be to argue that the governor's actions exceed his police powers under the Louisiana Constitution. But historically, the courts have given the state a long leash. So here's where we are. Trump is floating the idea of sending the National Guard into New Orleans. It's not about crime. It's not about public safety. And it's sure as hell not about protecting people. This is about control and testing the waters and seeing just how far he can go with military power inside American cities. And if it happens here, you can bet it won't stop here. New Orleans has seen a lot. Katrina, rebuilding, resilience, but a federal test of domestic military power is something different. And while the city itself can't legally stop it, the people of New Orleans and the country as a whole need to understand what's at stake. Because once you normalize using the National Guard as a political tool, it's not just New Orleans on the line, it's democracy itself. And I cannot stress enough, in the upcoming elections, we have to vote, no matter how small and no matter how minute an election is, we all need to vote. Louisiana has already proven that it can swat down whatever Jeff Landry puts forward. We just did that with those 4 amendments not too long ago. We can turn out and change things for the better. And the whole country can do that whenever it decides to do it. We are the people. We, the people, are in charge. So in the upcoming elections, we have the power to stop Donald Trump in his tracks. And that starts with the midterms in 2026. We need to show up and we need to show out. We need to win that. Democrats need to be put into power so that we can stop him from doing any more shit like this. So that's all for now. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow at Pragmotiv News everywhere to stay prag-motivated. Also, remember you can find us across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and iHeartRadio so that you can listen to us even when you're on the go. So head on over there and follow us and leave a review. It really helps us out. Until next time, peace.